Hello and welcome to the KYLO Show. I am Brittney Serpell.
I'm Ben Serpell. I'm back.
And I'm Danny Silk.
Yes.
And we have been joining us because we're finishing out kind of the parenting series that we've been doing. And we are kind of on the backdrop of our podcast, Ben and I's, of Imperfect Parenting. That's our parenting podcast. So we're kind of blending the two, the KYLO Show, and really just trying to do some way of an ad for you should go and listen to our show.
Yeah. And this is very much in response to that survey we sent out and said, what do you want to hear? Mm-hmm. And they said, some practical parenting stuff.
How do we deal with these children?
Yeah.
I know.
So we've gone on a little journey.
Mm-hmm.
You guys invited me here for 3 episodes. I'm here for one more. It's the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the end of parenting. So I'll let one of you introduce the topic today, and then we should share a meme. Because those who don't know, in Imperfect Parenting, we share a meme before each episode because we like to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main reason. Probably as parents, we got to find ways to laugh. Otherwise, we're probably crying. So
Yeah. Yes, that is very true. We were laughing at some young couple talking about being parents and just the things that their kids do. And that's what we do over at Imperfect Parenting. We laugh a lot and tell stories of this is our life this week. Anyways, but we're going to talk about adult parenting. So it's kind of the end. It's where, the final happens is these kids grow up and they become adults. So, but you're still parents. So how do you navigate that well? But this was inspired by our daughter. Because we were talking about her financial situation and learning how to buy her own food because she's away at school and she's home at the moment. But, we were just talking through how expensive everything is that she's never noticed ever
Why would she?
in her life. From ordering food at Chick-fil-A to groceries to her coffee. I mean, all of it. So when we saw this meme, we thought it was really funny. You want to say it?
Sure. So it's essentially just like 2 pictures. The top part of the picture it looks like a MacBook computer, so an Apple computer. And I'll give the punchline in a minute, but the top part says, with your current account balance, which Apple product can you buy? This is in reference to adult children. The bottom is a very nice glass of apple juice with apples all around it, and the product you can buy is apple juice. So the Apple product that's in your budget is probably apple juice.
It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
That is the growing pains of adult kids, I think, is them learning how to budget, how to spend their money wisely, and
Managing freedom.
Mm-hmm. Which is very much what we're kind of jumping into. I think we were talking through a little bit of what is it that makes adult parenting so difficult, and it feels like this the battle of giving trust, and they have ultimate freedom, and us not freaking out a little bit in the process, and knowing how do we empower them. So all of you listening, Ben and I are just going to ask my dad a bunch of questions because we are
He's
brand
been
new
adult
to
parenting
this.
for much longer than we have.
We're about 4 months in or so, and it's going okay, but it's definitely a different game. Why is it a different game? I feel like, I don't know, I don't want it to be a different game, but if it's very much I'm aware of like, oh, this is a different game. I cannot have the same rules that I had before.
Yeah. Well, some people try to keep it the same by having your kids live with you forever. Like, okay, I'm still the parent here, and this is my house and my roof and my rules, and that goes south quickly because they're adults. They're like, in the real sense, they're like renters. Like if you were going to rent a room in your house, you would have an adult person that you were dealing with. But we treat our kids like children while they're an adult, and then that messes the relationship up because they act like a child while we treat them like a child, but we expect them to act like an adult, but we don't treat them like an adult. So that
Feels like a riddle that I don't want
yes,
to.
yeah. Fable. I'm about to tell you a story.
There once was a boy.
It's called Where Everything Went Wrong. Yeah, it's very much a challenge. I think that's why it's so valuable for your kids to go. And I know all the reasons that kids can't go today, and it's just expensive and this and that, and and kids go and they go, and they should go. And there was a time when you go and you kill your own food, and you find your own food. You just it is a necessary part of the young adult journey. Is that you go experience life until your parents get so much smarter, right? Because the farther you get away from your parents, the smarter they are. All of a sudden, their voice is ringing in your head like, you know what?
That's what
My mom told me this is going to happen. My dad told me what to do right here. But when you're really close to your parents, they're so stupid.
I think Lainey said something the other day. I said, "Do you need anything from me?" She goes, "No, I don't need you right now." And Mom said, "Until she has kids and she's going to need you." So I thought it was funny, relevant to this topic.
That's super relevant. Yeah.
I think that feels true.
Yeah.
I don't need wisdom until I need wisdom. And all of a sudden, I already have wisdom. I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little gratitude.
It's awesome.
What about the because one of the things that I notice with parents of adult kids is that their child's out there, doing life, and it feels scary to them. And they feel like they have no control over that. And so they kind of default to their old way of parenting when they were in their house or they were, under 18. How do you see that as problematic? Like the way that they talk, the way that they respond when their child's scaring them?
Well, scared people want control, right? So probably the big dynamic in adult children is you have no control, really. You really have no control. There's kind of this delusion that's been created recently with the invent of the phone, the iPhone kind of cell phone, human tracker thing, that we have, and it's a delusion because it wasn't around. Like my parents did not know where I was ever, and there was no way to get a hold of me if the house burnt down, or some tragedy, or I got in a car accident. There was no way I could, I'm pre 911. Okay, we didn't even have 911 when I was a kid. So this is, we create this delusion around us where we have to have immediate communication capabilities with our children, or they're not safe, or we can't relax. Like if I text you and you don't text me back, like, where are you? And you don't text me back. Like, what? Yeah, I'm got that app that you could track your kids, or that little thing you put on their bumper or whatever it was, And you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta know. I gotta have clarity as to where my child is at all times. Well, that is a delusion. Yeah. That feeds that false sense of control, and that when you build security on that, and then that's threatened, you're nearly traumatized when you cannot find your child and get instant access to them. So I think that a lot of that's going on, and that a lot of that is jacking up the anxiety of parents right now, is we've created a delusional relationship with our children, and then when they become adults, we think that somehow that's going to be preserved, and it isn't.
Yeah. That's so important. What's that doing to the relationship too? So with the anxiety jacked up parent who's under this delusion that they have this going on, they probably have the tracker, they have the text, that all the things going on. What do you think the downfall to the relationship is?
Well, like I said, scared people want control. So the more anxiety and fear that you experience, the the more control you want. And how have you communicated your delusion of control up until now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it typically leads to the intense threats of the use of punishment. You know, and so that's my delusion of control is I keep intensifying my threat of punishment towards you until you yield. So we finally hit the marker where you cooperate with my delusion.
Got it.
You know, it's kind of how you shut down the whole world with the threat of punishment.
Yeah.
And we keep intensifying it. We will fine you $18 million a second if you don't submit. And finally, somebody just reaches their line where they go, okay, I submit. Mm-hmm. I'll play with your delusion that you can control me. And when it's parents, it's, you know, when they're little, you just raise your voice and children are running around like little cats. And then they get older and it takes a little longer. Now you got to count. And then you got to threaten, like, you do not want me getting to 3. If I got to get out of this chair, you know, there's all that. And then when you do that, I'm taking this away and I'm going to take that away and you can have nothing in your room. And now you got an angry, disconnected teenager sitting in the Sahara Desert in their bedroom because there's nothing there. And they're like, I don't care. Threaten me one more time. See how far that gets you. Now I am totally out of your control because I've realized you don't control me.
Yeah.
And the parent goes, oh no, I can't think of one more thing to threaten this kid with because I've taken everything. I've promised to take things in the future. You know, I'm overcommitted here. It's like, yeah, when we both realize I don't control you, that's actually the beginning of reality in the relationship. So it's much better to realize that when they're toddlers and move it all the way through so that when they are adults, you don't have that anxiety-producing delusion that I will use my control and get my way. No, you won't.
Yeah, I think that plays out a lot of times with instead of being a resource and protecting connection, you threaten assistance with their college tuition because don't you go out partying, don't you dare date that person, don't you, you kind of stack up all these things. So then instead of being a resource and help, some of those things probably get threatened as adulthood and or newly adults, and so new adults, no offense to you youngins, you're kind of scary because you just are like in this world of what happens when I push this. I think about Willy Wonka, and they're just like touching things that they shouldn't be touching, and they're licking things. You're like, what is wrong with you? What do you want?
Well, remember when your kids started walking? It was just like, oh my gosh,
Life
how are
just
you not
changed.
going to bash your face?
Yeah.
How is this not going to end poorly?
Yeah,
You are going to bash
Those
your
are
face.
stairs. What are you doing?
Yeah.
exactly.
Boom, 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 boom. Wow, I told you not to do that.
Yeah.
We were talking this morning a little bit, just preparing for this, and it does feel like those first adult years feel like that discovery and that pushing buttons, like what is happening?
Absolutely.
What is this world of? What's out there? And which is kind of what I think they have to go through to come back to the thing you described earlier, which is my parents actually have some wisdom for me.
If I would just listen, I could have saved myself
Yeah.
a whole hospital bill.
But I need to go find out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to go bunk my head a couple of times and come back and go, how do you not bunk your head? Okay.
So that part right there, do you feel like when the adult child is out exploring and facing all the scary things, making poor decisions, do you think parents take it as take it personally? That it's some kind of stain on their record of being parents because their child's being dumb?
100%. And your whole relationship with your child, you have been setting the world up for their safety, their survival, and their success. Your whole commitment to these humans
Right.
has that you would be successful, that you would, as least as possible, be injured by something, and that you could live, to be an adult. Like that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to keep you alive, cause you to thrive, and with as few bumps as we can possibly allow. And we have our own stack of don't do what I did.
Yeah.
And they're like, what, this? Yeah, that. Don't do that.
Okay. Maybe try with your child.
So, but is that true that that adult child's mistake or exploring, is that really a reflection on your parenting?
No, it's 100% your kids. I mean, things that they experienced in your house have shaped them and influenced them, but it does not determine who they are, who they will become. And that part of the learning journey is that individuation where in adolescence you separate. The teenager separates from their parents' identity, and they form a brand new self-concept. And that is what they're building, hopefully with momentum going into a young adult. And hopefully when they were little, they learned that the consequences of their decisions are their responsibility. Hopefully they learned that back there, because that's when the police are teaching you out there. It's like,
Right.
This is your fingerprints, and this was your car, and that was your mouth those words came out of, and it was your mouth that alcohol went into, and it was your hand on. It was the judge is like, okay, now here's how this works. Okay, your choices determine the consequences of your life. It's not your mom's fault.
Right.
And that hopefully that's not when they're learning.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. That is that's it. I feel like a lot of parents just needed to hear that their kids exploring, learning, and making poor choices doesn't mean that you are a horrible parent.
And it doesn't mean you weren't,
Sure, there's a catch-22, and then I get there's a bit of both. But I think that that's the delusion of control. Is somehow I'm it's a reflection onto me.
Yeah.
And that's what's I watch a lot of brokenhearted moms come to me, believing that when their child's out there just making a mess of things, that somehow they're an awful person.
Yeah, you think about it like, I told them not to do that. I tried to tell them, and then they did it anyway. You're like, okay, well, good job, good on you. You did what you could to help prevent that from happening, and they had to go find out for themselves.
Yeah,
You're
like touching something hot.
So that means you did a good job. You did a good job. But if they just went out there ignorant, running into stuff because they have no relationship with you because you weren't around, or they didn't want to talk to you, or you weren't a safe person, or whatever, and then they had to go figure it out themselves, well, there is some shared responsibility in that consequence.
Yeah. And the, just from even these 4 episodes we've done in here, and then everything we talk about, really loving on purpose, the only way forward really is relationship. Because there's all these other things trying to get our attention, the delusion, the anxiety, the fear, the control. But really the only way forward, especially and foremost in adult parenting, is this relational equity that we've either have built or are rebuilding and building now.
Yeah, I would just add to that hormones and culture.
Yeah.
All that.
I mean, the idea that these kids are going to just go out there and be ninjas at warding off all these forces that are trying to manipulate them. Yeah. It's there are tragic consequences for doing a bad job controlling yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben and Brittney Serpell here.
So every parent from the beginning of time has discovered that kids don't come with a manual. Parenting is a learning journey from the beginning to the very end, and it's full of lessons, challenges, questions, mistakes, and lots of messes. One of the biggest reasons so many of us get scared, discouraged, and overwhelmed as parents is we think the goal of parenting is to be perfect parents who raise perfect children, which leads us to move towards a fear-driven strategy that focuses on avoiding messes and use control and punishment to change their behavior.
This is why we created the podcast Imperfect Parenting, to talk about the true goal of parenting, a safe, loving, heart-to-heart connection with our kids as we guide them on their own journey to becoming healthy, confident, and emotionally intelligent. Seth Dahl joins Ben and I to bring you the tools you need to be fully engaged in the journey of building a healthy, connected family culture where your children can thrive.
So, if you're a parent, join us for some laughter, relatable stories, solutions to those tough questions, and insights into the challenges we all face on this parenting journey.
You can listen by searching Imperfect Parenting on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. We'll see you there.
I was going to bring up one of the other things we thought about just with adult parents, relationships. And Danny, you've pointed out this whole concept of truthing. Mm-hmm. I think you made a word up, which I think we should keep.
Yeah.
Put in the dictionary.
I like it.
But just talk for a minute about the power of and really the necessity of truthing in this relationship with your adult child.
Yeah, for those that wouldn't know that term, it's really us standing in the light together, seeing each other. And that doesn't come from me shining the light on you. Mm-hmm. It's from me stepping into the light. So I let you see me by telling you how I'm experiencing this situation, how I'm experiencing this relationship, how I experienced that decision. This is what's going on inside of me. I'm orange inside. I want to tell you, this is what color I am in here. I'm orange. Oh, orange. I totally thought you were green. Really? You're orange? That's weird. My guess was green or maybe a blue, like aqua something, And no, orange. Wow, that's surprising to me. I never would have known that had you not told me how you were experiencing this.
Yeah.
And then you listen to that and you learn, like, oh, orange. And then same thing. You do the same thing with me. What color are you inside? Because I have some guesses, but I don't really know. Because I think you're angry. You're not angry, you're scared. Oh, scared? Scared and angry have a totally different power experience with it, Scared people don't have much power. Angry people look like they're in charge. So when we step into the light with each other and actually get great information, we make such better decisions. So it becomes crucial that you learn how to do this with your children. Practice it in your marriage. Practice it in your closest relationships, and teach your children by leading them, by standing in the light and saying, I'm really scared, I'm really hurt, I feel really powerless. Instead of going, "Rah, do what I say, I'm Jafar, and I can make your world miserable." Like, no, because then you act like someone that you're not. You're lying. You're lying.
Yeah.
So tell the truth. The Bible says, Ephesians 4 says, speak the truth in love. Right before that, it says, stop lying. Speak the truth in love. And this is what I would, extract from that is that we tend to create a charade, some sort of false imagery with the way we talk, and then people react wrongly because they're reacting to the information we gave them instead of what you really need.
Yeah.
And we never get to what you really need because you were never that vulnerable. You were never that honest. You never told the truth.
Yep.
So the relationship gets disconnected. People get all twisted up and banged up. And truthing will really help eliminate a bunch of that.
I think one of the things you said at the end was they never get that vulnerable. And I mean, we practice this with all of our kids. I wouldn't say it's just Delaney who's an adult, but I think about our relationship right now. She doesn't live at home. We see her whenever we can. Sometimes it's longer periods of times, and it's still new, so we still see her close to every month. But I mean, it's because she goes to a place that we are there.
She's within driving distance.
Yeah. It's close. But if you don't have that, I would think that learning to tell the truth with your adult children just probably communicates a lot of value to them as they are now adults, that they are someone that you're willing to be respectful and honest towards. Not because a lot of times people look at kids and go, well, you can't handle the truth, you know. What is that movie? I can't think of it. You can't handle. Yeah, that's it. But that if you haven't practiced it at all, I would say them being adults is probably a really great place to start if you've not done it and they're adults. But being honest with them, I think a lot of these young adults right now crave authenticity. And so doing that respectfully, speaking it in love, I think that's the key right there.
Yeah, authenticity classically means no filter on my mouth.
That's not what I mean. But it, practicing this with them and say, can I be honest with you? I think I feel scared based off of your choices. You know, we spent all this money to send you to college, and how I hear about you spending your nights and your weekends feel like it's not very valuable to you. That feels scary and sad. You know, that's a very different conversation than, you
listen to me, young man.
Totally.
I control your world.
All of that.
You want some thunder? I'll give you some lightning. Yeah.
Exactly. But I would think that an adult child would respond differently to you coming in with honesty rather than judgment and fake power.
The big thing about truthing is that as we exchange truth, that's how you build trust.
Yeah.
I see you. You're actually there, and you see me. And now we're adjusting to protect our relationship. That's how you build trust.
Yeah.
That says to me that you care about how I experience you, and I care about how I experience you. So I'll adjust. Or, I care. I care that you care.
The experience.
I'm going to adjust to protect us. You're going to adjust to protect us, and that is how people feel safe together.
Yeah. And I think as Brittney was sharing, even just to point out, if your child doesn't respond in the way Danny's describing, they don't respond right away with, well, let me tell you about me. Let me show you me. The reaction first might be defensive. It might be this, what are we doing here? This is scary. I don't know how to wade into this kind of
You've
vulnerability.
never done this before.
But it's probably over time, the parent being consistent. This is actually how we operate going forward. That's still going to build trust. Is at some point that child's going to come back and go, I can trust you because you haven't changed.
And you control yourself. You don't try to control me.
Yeah.
Totally.
And maybe the mistake that we make is we do this truthing. We learn about each other. I see you, and then I lasso you. And I'm like,
you're close enough.
Okay, now you told me what's really going on. Now I know how.
I knew it.
I know how to manipulate you now. You're like, no. I tell you about me, and you listen to me, and then you tell me about you, and I listen to you, and I don't inject what I want you to do. And you don't inject what you want me to do. You trust me with truth. Now that I'm vulnerable, you're vulnerable. Now I have to go to work to figure out how to adjust to protect you without your instruction trying to direct me in what to do. And because here's what happens is you tell me about you, you tell me you're scared and you need to feel protected from my anger and my punishment, and going forward you need to feel respected by me as a young adult, and that you need to feel trusted and free in my presence. You need to feel powerful in our relationship. And so the parent says, okay, all right. So the child says, so I need you to stop asking me about my life and stop texting me every day and stop me like, whoa. Okay. Because now I feel shut down on my side as to how to figure out how to communicate that I respect them as young adults, that they can be powerful in this relationship, because I will mature. I will start maturing on my side of this relationship because I have that really great information that they need to feel powerful in their relationship with me, which has never been a basis of our relationship. I was kind of like, oh, you can be as powerful as I feel like you being powerful, and then I'm taking over. Well, that all goes away when you're an adult.
Yeah.
It's like the way they become powerful around me is they are never around me. That's how they're powerful. That's how they manage it. The adult child says, oh, I feel like a child in your presence. I don't like feeling like a child. I won't be in your presence. That's what happens.
Yep.
So I have to hear that you need to feel powerful in our relationship.
Yep.
And then I have to start learning how to ask better questions, listen way better, clarify. Using Ben's line, what did you hear me say? What did I just hear you say? Let me see if I heard what you said. That would be put in front of everything before I'm going to say what I think. Let me see if I heard what you said. And then they go, no, that's not what I said. Like, oh, please, give me some more information, because that's what I thought you said. No, I didn't say that. We get better and better. But I'll only get better on this side if I am trusted with their experience of me, their truth.
I just want to reiterate, I think, that point you made about we don't tell each other what to do. It feels like such an alluring trap. Like,
oh, it's a bad habit.
Sure. It's probably a better way to say it. It's been practiced for a while.
We've been doing it for our whole life.
Yeah. But it's it's just this, I get close enough to you to see what's happening, and I'm so scared that the way I'm going to fix it is just tell you to stop it, tell you to change, which just chases away this thing that we want to build with our adult child. So I just want to zone in on that one point, and you made 5 great points right there. Just that one, I think, is just so important to remember.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what you were saying is sometimes in the exchange of truth and building trust with each other, we still don't ever find, because a lot of people are looking for agreement. And so that's why we always say it's so much better to lean into understand, because some reality is going to be that you will never find agreement. And
Lord Jesus, help us all. It's so true, and it's so scary.
But if the agreement stays the main goal, I don't think the truthing exchange will be very successful.
Yeah.
And it feels that it can like, how important do you feel like it is for parents for staying connected? Their willingness that, I guess, we understand each other and we disagree. Can we still be connected?
If the goal is agreement, then we're in trouble, because I'm probably having a really rough marriage too.
Sure.
I'm having a rough. I don't like going to work. I don't. Actually, I don't. But I look in the mirror all day. Is what I do. That's the only way you're going to get agreement. Is like, yep, you and I think the same. The goal has to be connection. Yeah. And that is the art of relationship. That is the art of listening, the art of communicating. The I tell you about me is the antithesis of that is I tell you about you, which is the downfall of all conversations. This is arguing. I tell you, I judge you is what that means. I've judged you, and then I go on to try to convince you to agree with my judgments, which 100% doesn't ever work.
Yeah.
Unless I'm afraid of being punished. And then I'll say, okay, you're right. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. But the only reason I'm doing that is because if I disagree with you, the consequences of disagreeing with you.
Which I mean, all the parents that I meet with that have adult children, that's, I was praying for a lady and I'm trying to encourage her to read Keep Your Love On because I can hear she's talking about them, even to me. And I said, well, what are you doing to work on you? And she's like, and then about them. And she's sad. She's hurting. She's a grandma and she doesn't have access to her grandchild because she's not connected to her kid. And, you know, she finds out that we do family coaching and she's just like, here, you fix it. I'm like, oh, I can't unless you work on you. And she's like, I don't understand that. And I'm like,
Clearly.
and she's in tears talking to me about it. And this is so many calls I have. But that what you're saying, like the connection piece, my ability to manage myself and practice respectful conversation. I mean, we go to the KYLO 5, really. You're having to walk out the KYLO 5 in your adult relationship with your kid, remembering that you are a powerful person, that you can set healthy boundaries with these kids, you honor communication. I mean, you're prioritizing it. It just, there's just all these pieces that, for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's spouse relationship as well as their child relationship, but they're these close, intimate relationships and everything goes out the window. As soon as that connection feels threatened, somehow we start thinking that if I smother it, try and control it, that will produce something different instead of leaning into what I know, which is these KYLO 5s or iMessages or all these tools. That's my biggest cry for parents, and I'm trying to remember them myself, people. So just know that I'm on this journey with you. Is every time, you know, she's out there and she makes a decision that scares me, I have to figure out, how do I keep my love on when I'm terrified? How do I have a conversation that doesn't feel like I'm going to kill you? I'll cry because I'm with you.
Yeah.
And we're super connected. She's in her bed last night because she's visiting. She's cracking me up because she's laying on me. And I'm just thinking, I'm so grateful that this is what we do. With that, don't worry, guys. There's been lots of learning that's happened in the few months we've been away, but I just think doing all these things is the reason why she's still coming in my bed.
Yeah.
Curling up underneath the blanket, putting her cold feet on my feet. And reminding me how soon she's going to turn 19, and then she's going to be 20, and then she's like, you're going to be 40 and I'm going to be 20. She thinks that's really funny. But my heart does ache for the parents out there that feel hopeless. Yeah. I just think if you can return to you still cleaning up your mess and then showing them that you see them, I think makes a really big difference for adult kids.
It's how you create a safe create a safe space. Say that 5 times, Danny. Say it once. Let's do it
one time.
Let's
Danny.
do that one time. When you create a safe place for another human being, it doesn't guarantee that they'll step into it.
Yeah.
But what guarantees that they'll never step into it is that you never create it.
Yeah.
And so what you're describing is Delaney knows there's a safe space, and so she'll go to it, and all her needs are obvious. Like they're not secret, and that's really where we make the most intimate connections, is where our needs are obvious, and we're in a safe place. Doesn't mean they're all going to get met by a human. A bunch of them get met by God, but it's kind of like those lists that middle schoolers create for Christmas. It's like pages of stuff. You're like, okay, this is a safe place. You asked, and I see these things that they're not all going to be met.
We don't agree.
I'll look for the ones I can do, but the pony? No, there's no pony. No pony.
We live in an apartment.
Yeah, no pony. And a flamethrower? No flamethrowers in the house. Yeah.
I don't care
we
where
live
we
in
live.
California. No flamethrower.
Yeah.
And so but it is a moment of, we all get to see what's on your heart, and I'll be careful with it.
a really silly example that I keep thinking about, just as you started sharing about the lady you're coaching and just this conversation here. We recently watched Home Alone with the kids. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene where Kevin McAllister is in the church with the scary neighbor. Mm-hmm. And he sits down by him, and he's like, oh, my gosh, I can talk to you. So that they begin this conversation. And at the very end of it, it wraps up with Kevin saying, are you going to call your son? Because this man has been disconnected from his son for a long time. And he's like, it's just too scary. He's just going to say no. Mm-hmm. He's just not going to let me in. And as the man's walking away, Kevin says, so you're going to do it? This little 8-year-old boy is challenging this grandfather. And it just the message for me is, I think the pathway back to this is humility. And I think parents have the opportunity to lead in this. Mm-hmm. Adult children often will set this new standard when they find it, but parents, it's really our job to set this. Is I think what pride does is it keeps me locked up with, as soon as you agree or you see my point of view and you tell me I'm right, we can get back to something. But that's not going to work. So it's the humility, because at the end of the movie, you see this neighbor hugging his son, and they have this moment, and it was the humility of the father to say, I'm so sorry. Mm-hmm. I love you. I want you in my life. And all of a sudden, there they are. Mm-hmm. I'm filling in the blanks, but
I think Kevin said to him, if I hadn't heard from my dad in 10 years, I think I'd want to talk to him.
Yeah.
And it's, I that's the same. I mean,
right.
Every child, I think if you had maybe you had a hard situation and things were said, and that's kind of the base of Kevin and the scary neighbor, but it's, there are children. So humble yourself, practice the KYLO 5, lead in love, create a safe place, and then submit the rest of it to the Lord. That's how I do it. And, it doesn't mean you stop praying, doesn't mean you stop calling, but you're just trusting him and doing a really great job with you. And, I think we have KYLO University, and we've had so many testimonies of parents and adult children reconciling just because somebody went and got healthy and brought a different person to the relationship. And then there's that tenderness reestablished and connection. And just, that's what we want for families over and over again.
Come on.
So, well, it was good episodes here for parenting on the KYLO Show. Dad, thanks for entertaining some of the Imperfect Parenting set. And I'm excited for parents of all ages to feel inspired and hopeful. Because, again, we are chasing after whole and healthy families, and we are believing that you can do it. So we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Never miss an episode of The KYLO Show by subscribing to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watch us on the Loving on Purpose YouTube channel. Don't forget to submit your questions and testimonies to thekyloshow.com. The KYLO Show is produced by Ali Armerding, co-produced by Ashley Beck and Anna Hill, sound engineered and edited by Taylor Silk, and show promoter Christian Zamora. Don't forget, whole healthy families, gonna save the world.